Walter White, Breaking Bad. Walter White starts off as your average high school chemistry teacher, underpaid, overqualified, and completely unappreciated. But when life hands him a terminal cancer diagnosis, he doesn't just start checking off a bucket list, he cooks meth. And not just any meth, but the purest blue crystal the world has ever seen. At first, he's just trying to make sure his family is financially secure. But let's be honest, he quickly starts enjoying the power. As Heisenberg, Walter transforms from a desperate dad into a cold, calculating kingpin. He manipulates, murders, and outsmarts everyone who stands in his way. What makes him fascinating? We want to root for him, even when he's poisoning kids or blowing up nursing homes. His downfall isn't just tragic, it's inevitable. The real question, was Walter ever really the good guy? Or was Heisenberg lurking in him all along? Deadpool, Wade Wilson, Marvel Comics/Deadpool. If superheroes had a class clown, Deadpool would be the guy throwing spitballs at Batman while cracking jokes about Spider-Man's tight suit. Wade Wilson was just your average mercenary until a shady experiment left him with Wolverine-like healing powers and a face that looks like an overcooked chimichanga. Instead of brooding over his tragic past, he embraces the chaos, armed with twin katanas, a bottomless arsenal, and a mouth that never stops. Deadpool is the anti-hero who knows he's in a comic or movie and isn't afraid to break the fourth wall to remind us. He's unpredictable, violent, and completely unfiltered. Think of him as Spider-Man's twisted R-rated cousin. What makes him fascinating? Despite his reckless, borderline psychopathic behavior, he has moments of surprising heart. He's proof that you don't have to be noble to be likable. Sometimes you just have to be fun. Tyler Durden, Fight Club. If self-improvement is masturbation, then Tyler Durden is the guy who throws out the lotion and lights the house on fire. Charismatic, fearless, and brimming with anti-consumerist wisdom, Tyler is everything the unnamed narrator of Fight Club wishes he could be. He's the living embodiment of rebellion, smashing capitalism, rejecting societal norms, and punching people in basement bars for spiritual enlightenment. But here's the twist. Tyler isn't real. He's a manifestation of the narrator's split psyche, a walking, talking midlife crisis with abs. What makes him such a compelling anti-hero? He feels like a hero at first, liberating men from their corporate shackles, preaching self-destruction as a path to freedom. But then he takes it too far, because blowing up credit card companies is, illegal. Tyler Durden is the devil on your shoulder whispering, "Burn it all down." And honestly, sometimes it's tempting to listen. Tony Montana, Scarface. Say hello to the ultimate rags to riches cautionary tale. Tony Montana arrives in Miami as a broke Cuban refugee with nothing but ambition and a bad attitude. But he's not interested in working his way up the corporate ladder. He's here to take over, one drug deal at a time. With sheer ruthlessness and a no-prisoners mindset, he transforms from a low-level thug into Miami's most feared drug lord. What makes Tony such a fascinating anti-hero? He's not your typical underdog. He's violent, impulsive, and absolutely refuses to play by the rules. He's got charm, but it's laced with an itchy trigger finger. At first, we root for him because he's clawing his way out of poverty. But power corrupts him faster than you can say, "The world is yours." His downfall, a lethal mix of paranoia, greed, and one too many enemies. Tony Montana proves that the American dream comes with a price tag, and sometimes it's paid in bullets. Severus Snape, Harry Potter series. At first glance, Severus Snape is just your classic grumpy teacher, the kind who takes way too much pleasure in deducting points from Gryffindor. But beneath the snark and the greasy hair lies one of the most complex characters in modern fiction. Snape spends most of the Harry Potter series making life miserable for the boy who lived. But by the end, we realize he's been playing a completely different game. Turns out, Snape's entire existence has been shaped by one thing: his undying love for Lily Potter. He's not a hero, he's not a villain. He's a man who made terrible choices and spent the rest of his life trying to atone. What makes him an anti-hero? He's bitter, petty, and a little bit terrifying. But he's also secretly protecting Harry the entire time. In the end, Snape reminds us that real heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they just wear really bad robes. Lisbeth Salander, the girl with the dragon tattoo. If Batman traded his cape for a hoodie and swapped his billionaire status for a criminal record, you'd get Lisbeth Salander. She's a genius hacker, an investigator, and a social outcast with a past so dark it makes Gotham look like Disneyland. Abused, underestimated, and constantly dismissed, Lisbeth doesn't just fight back. She obliterates anyone who crosses her. What makes her such a compelling anti-hero? She doesn't fight crime for justice or glory. She does it because she has to. When she uncovers a web of corruption, serial murder, and corporate evil, she doesn't call the cops. She destroys the guilty, using her hacking skills and razor-sharp intellect. Unlike traditional heroes, she doesn't operate on kindness or morality. She's fueled by revenge, survival, and a refusal to be a victim ever again. Lisbeth Salander is proof that you don't need superpowers to be terrifyingly effective. You just need a grudge and a really good laptop. V for Vendetta. If Shakespeare and anarchy had a baby, it would be V, a masked revolutionary with a love for chaos and a flair for the dramatic. V isn't here to play nice. He's here to burn an entire dictatorship to the ground. Armed with knives, explosives, and a vocabulary that would make a literature professor swoon, he takes on an oppressive government with the precision of a poet and the ruthlessness of an assassin. What makes V such an unforgettable anti-hero? He's a freedom fighter, but his methods are very debatable. Blowing up buildings and orchestrating elaborate revenge plots aren't exactly peaceful protests. Unlike your typical hero, he doesn't fight for personal gain. He fights for an idea, even if it means sacrificing himself. And while his actions blur the line between liberation and terrorism, his message is chillingly clear. People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. Venom, Eddie Brock, Marvel Comics / Venom. Imagine getting dumped, losing your job, and then bonding with an alien parasite that turns you into a hulking, sharp-toothed nightmare. That's Eddie Brock's life in a nutshell. A disgraced journalist with a grudge against Spider-Man, Eddie merges with the alien symbiote Venom, giving him super strength, a terrifying appetite, and a voice in his head that's equal parts menacing and hilarious. What makes Venom such a fascinating anti-hero? He starts as a straight-up villain, hell-bent on destroying Spider-Man. But over time, he evolves into something much weirder, a lethal protector. He's still violent, still unhinged, but now he's aiming his chaos at people who deserve it. Eddie and Venom have the ultimate toxic relationship, literally, but somehow their dysfunctional dynamic works. Together, they're not heroes, not villains, but something deliciously in between. Because let's be honest, sometimes you just need a hero who eats the bad guys. Jack Sparrow, Pirates of the Caribbean. Captain Jack Sparrow isn't your typical pirate. He's not particularly strong, he's rarely prepared, and most of his plans involve a lot of running away. And yet, he somehow always gets the upper hand. With a bottle of rum in one hand and a half-baked scheme in the other, Jack dances through life on sheer luck, trickery, and just a little bit of genius. What makes Jack such a great anti-hero? He's selfish, deceitful, and would probably sell you out for a shiny coin. But when it really matters, he occasionally does the right thing, accidentally or otherwise. He's not a noble hero, but he's not a total villain either. He's just a man trying to keep his ship, his freedom, and his legendary status intact. And while most pirates steal gold, Jack steals the show, proving that sometimes the best hero is just a really lucky scoundrel. John Wick. John Wick is the man you do not want to mess with, especially if you just killed his dog. A retired assassin trying to live a quiet life, he's dragged back into the underworld after a bunch of low-life thugs make the very poor decision of stealing his car and murdering his beloved pup. Big mistake. What makes John such a compelling anti-hero? He's not out for justice. He's out for revenge, and he's doing it with style. Dressed in all black, armed to the teeth, and fueled by sheer vengeance, he tears through the criminal underworld with brutal efficiency. He's got a code. He won't kill the innocent. But if you're in his way, good luck. Despite his body count rivaling a small war, we root for him because deep down, he's not a monster. He's just a man who lost everything And if grief had a combat style, it would look exactly like John Wick. Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. Meet Patrick Bateman, wealthy, charming, stylish, and completely unhinged. By day, he's a high-powered Wall Street investment banker with a perfect suit and a killer skincare routine. By night, he's, well, literally a killer. With a love for designer suits, 80s pop music, and elaborate murders, Patrick is as terrifying as he is fascinating. What makes him such a unique anti-hero? Unlike most on this list, Patrick doesn't pretend to be a good guy. He's a full-blown psychopath. Yet, we can't look away. His internal monologues are disturbingly hilarious, his critiques on society eerily insightful, and his lack of empathy chilling. The best part? We never even know if his crimes are real or just the hallucinations of a man drowning in his own delusions. Is he a monster or just a product of an empty materialistic world? Either way, Patrick Bateman is proof that sometimes the scariest villains are the ones wearing Armani. Hannibal Lecter, The Silence of the Lambs. Dr. Hannibal Lecter is the ultimate dinner guest. Just don't ask what's on the menu. A world-class psychiatrist, art lover, and cannibal, Hannibal isn't just evil, he's elegant. He speaks in riddles, quotes philosophy, and has the refined taste of a Michelin-starred chef. Oh, and he eats people, but only the rude ones. What makes Hannibal such a mesmerizing anti-hero? He's a monster, no doubt, but he's also terrifyingly likable. He doesn't kill indiscriminately. He selects his victims carefully, like a chef choosing the finest ingredients. He's as charming as he is deadly, and that's what makes him so dangerous. While he's technically the villain, his wit, intellect, and strange sense of justice make it hard not to be captivated by him. Plus, let's be honest, compared to some of the actual monsters in The Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal almost feels like the better option. Just don't shake hands with him. Joker, Arthur Fleck. Joker, 2019 roku. Arthur Fleck starts as a struggling comedian in Gotham, living in a world that beats him down every chance it gets. He's bullied, ignored, and left to fend for himself in a society that doesn't care. But when he finally snaps, he doesn't just break, he laughs. And that laughter, it's not funny, it's terrifying. What makes Arthur such a compelling anti-hero? Unlike traditional villains, he doesn't start out evil. He's a man pushed to the edge, a product of a system that failed him. His transformation into the Joker isn't about world domination or chaos for chaos's sake. It's about finally being seen. His descent is tragic, uncomfortable, and eerily understandable. We don't condone his actions, but we get them. That's the scary part. Arthur isn't just Gotham's problem. He's a mirror, reflecting the darkness lurking in all of us. And when he finally dances down those stairs, it's not just a breakdown, it's a rebirth. Which anti-hero is your favorite? Comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already.